We're ready to begin. Waiting for Madam City Clerk. There she is. Hi, Madam City Clerk.
Hello. I was trying to get them. I couldn't hear you, so I was trying to get them to.
Oh, wait, I
There you
can't hear
go.
you. Let me turn my volume up. Okay.
I'm ready whenever you
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, Let me text Councilwoman McCoy again. She was on the line. Oh, she said that she was, excuse me, Councilwoman McCoy said that she was kicked out of the Zoom and that she's trying to rejoin. I don't see a waiting room here. Let me send her a link. Okay, there she is. Hi, Councilwoman McCoy. Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted, but we'll get started.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am actually on my phone because I can't connect with my iPad. It keeps saying I'm waiting.
Oh, okay. We'll have to figure that out.
Okay. Yes, we can figure it out. We can get started.
Okay, we'll work with you when we break the closed session.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will now begin. Today is Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, 4:49 p.m., and we will now begin the Compton City Council meeting. Roll call.
are. Councilperson Chambers, Galvan, McCoy,
Here.
Sharif,
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. Proceeding forward on tonight's agenda, Madam City Clerk, I'm not certain if there are any public comments on closed session.
I have no comments relating to closed session.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. We can proceed forward to the agendized closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. There's one item on today's closed session agenda, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, CSMCS, case number ARB-19-0298, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection A.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. May we have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. Thank you, Madam City Clerk.
Do I need to log off?
Can y'all hear me? This is Dave Ford.
Yes, Mr. Ford, we're waiting for the council to
Okay.
end.
Mayor Brown, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I can't get, they saying that I'm disabled every time I try to remove this little icon.
Well, there's something wrong. I just received your text message as well. Figure out what's happening here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Good evening, Councilwoman.
Just pick it up
Okay.
upstairs.
Hi, City Manager. We're having a challenge with, oh, there it is.
There I am.
Yeah, it just got released.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in now.
Okay.
I'm in now.
All right.
Oh,
Good
geez.
evening, everyone.
Please.
May we now have a motion to reconvene the Compton City Council meeting?
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
Galvin, McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. We will now have a report out of closed session by our City Attorney, Damon Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One item we had for closed session this evening was conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, CSMCS case number ARB-19-0298, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection A. There's no reportable action at this time.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Madam City Clerk? We're ready. Actually, we can go to special guests. I know it's not on the specific agenda, but we'd like to provide Mr. Ford, SCE, an opportunity to share updates on the recent rolling outages.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, Mr. Ford, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor and council members. Over this last couple of days, we've seen some really record breaking heat days that, as you know, has a tremendous surge on our electrical system with the amount of outages that has impacted our system. We had actually over 300, almost 400,000 outages from midnight Friday to noon today, which reflects the impact and the multiple outages that we've had throughout our system. When this heat storm first started impacting our system, we had close to around 80,000 customers out of power. We're able to reduce that down to 50,000 and to 37,000 by 10 o'clock this morning. And right now we're looking at close to around 10,000 customers that are still without power in Los Angeles County. For Compton itself, and I'm looking at the outage map while I'm talking to y'all, earlier this morning as well as yesterday, there was a very lot of activity on an outage map that had impacted Compton. So right now what I'm seeing is about 66 customers that are out of power right now in Compton, and we've got crews on the way to do restoration of services. You know, we were faced last week or week before last with rolling blackouts, and then this heat storm came in. We're also sending out notifications in some of the high fire districts, areas of our service territory of public power safety shutoff. I don't think you have to worry about that in Compton, but we've had crews working around the clock. Between Saturday and Monday, we replaced about 351 transformers, 11 poles, and many spans of conductor where we have crews working around the clock. And as you know, my office and our outage, our service center is located there right off of Wilmington, which is down the street from Compton. But we're in the city of Compton. But it just was a bad occurrence of multiple issues that were happening on the system, where, you know, this heat temperatures that got up into 114, 117 temperatures. This is not a normal for our operation. You know, it presents a very challenging system reliability problem. But, you know, I can assure you that, you know, we're staying right on each one of these outages over the weekend. Some of the council members had contacted me about outages that were occurring, and I not only kept them in the loop, but also contacted the customer. And if I didn't see or hear of any activity to address those customers' needs, I would stay on top of that, and, you know, routinely would text the customer to kind of get a status of where they're at, if there's any special needs. I know that you, Mayor, had asked me if we have a customer with special needs and they're critical, say, on life support, what kind of resources that we would provide. And if you do have a customer that is out, their power is out at this time or at any time for a long duration, yes, you notify me, and we will work to get that customer some type of alternative generation to temporarily provide their medical needs can be met.
Thank you, Mr. Ford, for the report. I understand that we are living in some incredible times and with extreme temperatures, and I can only imagine the impact that the demand has had on the system. I just wanted to know for those customers that are either diabetic or if they have any other type of medical devices, could they actually be accommodated in a different location, via hotel or motel, or you just mentioned that they could actually have a generator or something delivered. And I will contact you offline to get the specifics for the customer that I'm inquiring about. But in the future, if we have rolling blackouts, is the point of contact just to reach out to you directly to be able to access mitigation measures?
Yeah, I think that would probably, you know, oftentimes, you know, you get caught up in the call center. I'd prefer most customers to go through the route of call center information. That number is 1-800-611-1911. But for you as council members, yourself, mayor, and city manager, you know, feel free to contact me directly. You know, because last thing is, you know, with COVID, people can't really relocate. It's very difficult for them to go to another family member or a friend's home because of the risk and exposure of COVID. So we want to try to see what mitigation measures that we can take to accommodate the customer in those cases.
Okay.
There is a medical baseline that customers can apply, and I can get that information over to you and the council and staff that y'all can just burst that information out, because we'd like to know. That gives us a heads up. This customer's on life support. They medical electricity is a must need for their life support for their medical equipment.
Okay. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor and council, I'd like to put something, I'd like to work with Mr. Ford to get something on our website and out to the media so that the residents know if they qualify, they should be filling out this form. We'd like to get that information, help spread that information.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. Also, we'll send you information about rolling blackouts and how it's vetted with the ISO, the independent system operator. We only act upon their direction, but the essential customer identification, who would be turned off or who wouldn't be turned off as an essential customer. And I know that City of Compton has some facilities there in your city as part of your operation that are essential customers, and I'll provide you that information as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And thank you, Mr. City Manager, for getting that information up on the web, and we will share that accordingly. Thank you. Any council questions or comments for Mr. Ford before we let him go?
Hi, Mr. Ford. How are you?
Fine.
Yes,
How are you?
good. Thank you. I just want to say thank you very much for reaching out to me and keeping us abreast on the issues with the power outages and just being attentive to our residents. I think it's very important and critical, especially during this time with this extreme heat. It is a concern in the rolling power outages. So I just want to say thank you for your attentiveness, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ford. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Y'all be safe and healthy, okay?
Thank you. You do the same.
You also.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. We could proceed forward with public comments.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our first speaker for tonight is Robert Ray. Will someone please explain the reasoning and rationale of items 8, 10, 11, and 12? I wish to retract my comment last week about the funding of next year's local election. I have been assured that funding is available. For anyone following me on Facebook, you know that COVID-19 is still very active in Compton. Every day, more people in Compton are becoming infected, and almost every day, another Compton resident loses their life because of COVID-19. I want to encourage everyone to take this pandemic seriously. Wear your face masks when in public and avoid large crowds of people. Every registered voter in California will automatically get a vote by mail ballot beginning the week of October the 5th. Go to lavote.net to make sure you are still registered. As soon as you get your ballot in the mail, fill it out and mail it back ASAP. Make sure you sign the envelope. No postage is needed. This general election will be the most important election of our lifetime. Our next speaker is Joyce Kelly. To the people of Compton, recalls are being collected to get Mayor Asia Brown and Councilmember Michelle Chambers out of Compton because they refuse to do anything positive for the people of Compton and their city. Please sign. The people of Compton are aware the city manager, Craig Cornwell, is incapable of leadership, especially since he has little experience as city attorney. Council members Galvan and Sharif aren't getting his help in advancing the city in their districts. Councilwoman Tana McCoy also hasn't done or actually requested anything to be done in the 3rd District. As long as Tana McCoy gets jobs and contracts for her family and friends of her family and fathers of her relatives, she will not vote against City Manager Craig Cornwell. Tana McCoy was the only liaison for the mayor and council members during Mayor Omar Bradley's administration and misused the city's credit card, says him. Tana McCoy, you will be next for a recall. Remember, the people of the 3rd District speak out. You've said or done nothing for Compton or the 3rd District. Prepare again for an appearance before the grand jury. Connie Helbig, I am writing to you about the water problem that I am seeing. The water is cloudy at times. It also smells one day like sewer, other days like pure chlorine. It also has a lot of calcium deposits. I need to use CLR at least every other week to clean the coffee pot and need to buy a new one twice a year because water is destroying it from the buildup. The water causes to it here. Something needs to be done. I also have not seen flush down outside for years, now maybe 7 or 8 years. Maybe there could be one done and water may be better coming out. Craig Cornwell, there must be a curb painted red in front of fire hydrant. People park on top of it, so the fire department may have a large problem getting to it if there ever was a fire. I have written to you, Craig Cornwell, and you have done nothing. I also requested speed bumps for the speeders around here and parking permits. So far, you have done nothing about anything. Damon Brown, what is being done about DMV results for council members? Are you going to collect money? Are you going to collect back monies paid to those that don't have a valid license for the past few years but was getting paid? If so, I hope you do it before elections and that person may no longer be on the council. As always, watching and listening for answers to my questions. Our next speaker is Joanne Morales. Good evening. Doesn't the city pay a fine if we don't meet a certain amount of recycling collected in our trash or whatever? I have never been clear as to who the fine is paid to, the county, the state, space aliens. I really have no idea. Not trying to spread rumors, but 10 grand a day is the fine amount that comes to mind. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So, like, where are we with that? I was reminded the other day when I got in a confrontation with somebody stealing the recycling out of my trash can. Of course, when I went to sleep, somebody came back and took everything they wanted and threw a bunch of other stuff on the street. I'm curious with COVID-19, are more people taking recycling to recycling centers for cash and or is more being stolen from cans? Thank you. Thanks in advance. Just asking. And our last speaker is coming from Gilda Bluford, president of AHA Neighborhood Watch Group. To the Compton City Council, on behalf of the AHA Neighborhood Watch Group, I have been asked to thank Councilwoman Tana McCoy, City Manager Craig Cornwell, Southern California Edison Rep David Ford, and the team who worked from 4:30 p.m. on Monday evening to 1:16 a.m. Tuesday morning. On Sunday, September the 6th, 2 transformers burned out. The sparks caused wires to burn and split landings in the backyards of 3 homes on the south side of West Arbutus, resulting in a loss of power along the entire block. I later learned the north side of West Poplar was also affected. After numerous phone calls following downed wire protocol and getting nowhere, I reached out to our 3rd District Councilwoman, Tana McCoy, who immediately put me in touch with David Ford. After dealing with excessive heat, complete darkness, defrosting refrigerators and freezers, the city manager was invited in to assist with the restoration of effort as well. Imagine the relief that was felt when at 1:16 a.m. this morning we had electricity. Again, thank you for understanding the urgency and severity of being without power by working both with us and for us. Our takeaway from this is our new slogan: even with an absence of power, together we are not powerless. And that concludes our comments. We are now at consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Consent items are routine and expected to be non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the City Council at once without discussion unless a council member requests for an item to be removed or discussed.
So moved.
So move.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
McCoy, McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
We are now at City Manager's Report. There's a PowerPoint and oral presentation on the census update.
Madam Mayor, City Council, as we briefly mentioned last week, there's some recent issues regarding our census program and the date that our deadline has moved up. So Dr. Aubrey Ralph is prepared to, I believe also with Kimberly McKenzie, are ready to go through a PowerPoint to bring us up to date on those issues.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Dr. Aubrey Ralph. I am the Grants Compliance Manager. Myself and Ms. Kimberly McKenzie will just give you a status of the census as it stands now in our efforts during this final push. We also have a brief presentation to hit a couple of points. I don't see that presentation yet. Here we go. So Russell, if you can go to the next slide. So getting right to our status as of last week, 62.2% of residents have participated in the census. As Craig noted, that deadline, or the window of opportunity to participate is fastly closing with the deadline, the new deadline of September 30th. Initially, it was extended out to October 31st, but as of last month, we were notified that this date has been moved up. And so we are going to continue our outreach efforts. All of our collective efforts are necessary at this point in order to capture a most complete count as possible. Next slide, please. Briefly, just as a reminder, all of the outreach efforts that we take have to be guided by hard to count information. Just an example, the lighter orange areas on that map are some of those census tracts that were that had the lowest response rates. So we try to strategically flood those areas with outreach. Next slide. The census initially gave us a list of barriers, if you will, to obtaining a complete count or some of those challenges. I won't go through all of them, just showing you that this kind of helps direct our outreach efforts. Next slide. So right into the efforts in terms of digital outreach, which we've relied heavily on because of COVID-19. We have created websites, really enacted or implemented a huge social media push. We've had live conversations with local leaders, worked with churches to kind of get the word out through their virtual services. We've put census commercials on our website, so we really tried to push, and we're continuing to push through our digital efforts. Next slide. Even though we are relying heavily on digital efforts, we're doing our best to stay within guidelines of social distancing, also working with the Federal U.S. Census Bureau to adhere to any guidelines they have as it relates to any street outreach efforts. And so currently, from the street outreach effort, you can look at some of the pictures. We've placed door hangers once again throughout those areas that we see the low response rates. We've put bench ads strategically throughout the city, newspaper placement. We've had 2 census caravans on July 25th. And then just this past weekend, I'll show you a picture on the next slide of that. We've placed 2 street banners, one on Long Beach Boulevard and Alondra Boulevard, one on Rosecrans and Central, and then flyer placement throughout the city in medical clinics, food banks, community outreach events, etc. Next slide, please. The top right picture, that is an idea of what the caravan looked like. And I want to thank everyone involved in that. And I know that council will probably talk more about it, but always good to see the community members showing up and really encouraging their neighbors and community members to participate. So going through the streets and really getting the word out as creatively as possible to encourage participation. So some of the scheduled upcoming events that we are doing this month, we're pretty much flooding this month as best as possible with events that we pop up. Census events, one on September 11th at Walter Tucker Park from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Then September 24th at Target from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. At these events, we will do our best to assist residents, even with laptops. We'll encourage them to take the census on their phone. We'll have masks, which we've already distributed throughout the city, but other incentives to encourage residents to complete the census and inform them of this fast approaching deadline. We will, let's see, also working with small businesses and looking to coordinate with schools, with Compton Unified and City of Compton Community College, excuse me, since school has started. So we'll see if we can get some any parent conference or any other virtual types of opportunities that we can do with the city, with the schools, since they just reopened. We will do that as well. Next slide. Our next round of door hangers, we're going to color them red as a basically update of and urgency to kind of emphasize the urgency of this being the final notice. So we'll continue our citywide text and robocall campaign. We work with the fire department and sent out community texts. We have placed this information in the quarterly newsletter, digital billboards on 91 and 105 freeway. We inserted this information on the water bill as of August 24th. And we're going to have an air banner every weekend where airplane will actually write it. Every once in a while, you see how an airplane will write information up in the sky. So we're going to do that every weekend. There's any way we can creatively get the word out about this final notice. We'll also have a countdown of social media push along with Instagram and radio advertising. So that is where we are, and that's what we will continue to do. We encourage anyone, any organization, business, council, of course, continue to do what you've already been doing around spreading this word. So with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Kimberly McKenzie to discuss the career link and census. And Russell, if you don't mind, can you keep the presentation up? Ms. Kimberly McKenzie has a few slides as well.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry for the delay. My name is Kimberly McKenzie, and I will be reporting on the recruitment for the Census 2020. So CareerLink started the process with U.S. Census December 11th, 2019, where 150 people expressed an interest on that day, and we invited 150. 101 were interviewed and hired on the spot after the interviews. On January 8th, 2020, we invited 149 individuals and 97 were interviewed and hired. So that brings a total of 299 individuals that were screened by CareerLink or invited to attend, and 198 actually attended and were hired. So we had 198 hired through U.S. Census. Next slide, please. So the positions that Census was hiring for were office clerks. They made $17 to $20 per hour. We had office operations supervisor, $17 to $20 an hour as well. Census field supervisors, 21 to 26 per hour. And the enumerators are the individuals that go door to door. And so most people were hired as enumerators, and they were paid $21 to $24 per hour. The last position was recruiting assistants, and they made $23 to $26 per hour. Next slide, please. And so of the 198 individuals that were hired, we had 60 Compton residents, and we are happy to announce that that was 30.3% Compton residents hired through our office for our recruitment. Now, unfortunately, the individuals that are out there working right now, they have pushed the end date up to September 30th. Originally it was supposed to go to October, but unfortunately, they will be working up to September 30th. So this concludes my portion of the report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie, for your efforts that were fruitful for the screening and hiring of Compton residents. I myself and many of the council had an opportunity to attend and watch you all work, and we definitely had so much interest from our residents. They came prepared and ready to work. It was really a great event, and I'm happy that so many were hired. And I thank you for your follow-up on those items as well. I would just ask Dr. Ruff if you could just email the council this presentation, and then if there are any recordings, or if you could just share more details about the countdown social media campaign so that we all can be prepared to participate and push that out to our channels. I know that September 30th is coming rather quickly, and we all will do everything that we can to spread the word. And then relative to the radio ads, is there a schedule, or when you all are able to confirm the ad buys, if you can share the schedule with us as well, that way we can tune in and point people to those ads as well.
We certainly will.
Thank you. You all have been doing some great work, and I want to just also publicly thank all of the community leaders and members that have been helping and organizing events to get the word out for the census. This is so critically important, as we all know. Any council questions or comments for Dr. Ralph and Ms. McKenzie?
Yes, I have a question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Ralph, you showed on the map the orange spots that you said were low in responding. What area was that in?
That was, and so this was earlier on, right, that is second district, third and fourth, is that? Each one are identified by census tract. If you're interested, I can give you a list of the census tracts that are considered lowest, to having the lowest response rate. This has changed. I will say that census tract at the top of the map has now become a little lighter blue. One of the census, I'll send you an updated map, but I wanted to show this one is because as soon as we saw these low response,
You
that
would,
our procurement, who guided our resources and how we started expending flyers and bench ads and placement.
that's what I was gonna ask, where we really put some resources in that area, in those areas, because we need to be counted.
Correct.
But thank you. Also, how are the homeless? I don't know if you answered this question. The homeless, how are we helping the homeless? Are we working with the homeless providers? Are they doing this portion of the census? Or what is the actual?
For the homeless, now that is what I reported on is the city's outreach efforts. We got funds from Los Angeles County to promote the census. So that's all we're doing is promotion, but the actual U.S. Census Bureau, the federal agency, does have their own homeless count. And that's why they hire the enumerators, and then they have, I think they look at regular households, they look at housing or facilities, they look at homeless, so they really categorize how they use those or conduct those type of efforts. But in terms of what I spoke on, the promotion and the outreach, it pretty much is the same. That the billboards are there, but the census itself actually handles the homeless count.
Okay, because so the data that you have received, that's from the census showing the density, the population, and where's the county. That's what. Okay.
Correct. So yes,
make sure that they are really going out counting our homeless being. And we can get out ahead of that, because there's some areas where they were not counting. Then I just want to make sure that many we can count, the better. Many of our residents, the better. So if you can, or Madam Mayor, if someone can just go back over with them and just make sure, see what their plan is. If they started counting our homeless or not, what actually is their agenda? Because like I said, certain areas they were missing a lot. So I just want to make sure that we get our fair share.
From what I understand, Councilwoman Chambers, there have been at least 2 homeless counts by the census in Compton.
Okay.
They've used some of the similar service providers that already work in Compton because they're familiar with the city and where the highest concentrations are. So Hopix and LASA have been involved in those counts. So I will inquire if they plan to do one additional count before the new deadline, because I know that did push their original schedule up quite a bit, as all of us. So I will reach out to them and see if they are scheduling an additional count.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Ms. McKenzie, thank you very much for your hard work, you and your staff, for always putting Compton to work. I'm always talking about our residents and employing our residents. I just want to thank Career Link and Ms. Coley Fields and of course Ms. McKenzie on assuring the Compton residents were hired in this project. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's what matters.
Yes. I was listening to what was stating in regards to those different areas that where there's very low count. I was just wondering if we considered making phone calls in there or trying to see if we could get some way to call in and try to encourage them to actually fill out the census and see if they need help or anything as far as filling out that census. Have we considered any of those? Considered doing any of that?
We have worked to complete robocalls, as well as we worked with the fire department to, we get texts about emergencies, so the fire department does have citywide access, so that's just citywide, and similar to that, the water bills, and so there's citywide efforts that are going to hit every, that have hit and then will continue to hit every census tract in the city.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, yes. Councilwoman McCoy.
I just want to thank you guys for all the efforts. I did get the robocall from the fire department. I did get the email. So we are doing a big effort and we shall continue to do so. Thank you. I've a number of my residents on my block, and as I walk around, I do ask them if they've completed their census, and they say they have. So we will continue the effort, and I just want to thank you guys for all that you have done to make this, push this a little further, especially with the short deadline. Thank you.
You as well.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and council, uh, I believe what we'll do, since the deadline is coming up so quickly, is just to have a running update on the agenda to the end of the month. And we can bringing this issue up to the residents, and if you have any comments, you'll be able to weigh in every week until we're at the deadline.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Also, Madam Mayor, may I ask a question? Would it be possible if we can also work with our clergy, send the information out to the churches and ask them, I know a lot of them still doing Zoom, they can just mention that during church services or during announcements for their congregation to please complete their census. I think that'd be helpful as well.
Absolutely. I am setting some time aside tomorrow to just make sure we're double back to all of our community organizations, churches, and all of the groups, and make sure our outreach is sound, and make sure that people understand that the deadline has also been compacted. So we'll get the word out. Thank you. Thank you all again, Dr. Relf and Ms. McKenzie, for your great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam City Clerk?
We're now at City Attorney's reports.
Okay.
Mr. City Attorney.
City Attorney Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Today, I just wanted to spend a little time acknowledging someone in my office, and this dates back to probably late last year. One of the Cornwell legacies of the City Attorney's Office was the establishment of the legal intern program, which the council adopted and approved last year. And the very first intern that we were able to bring on started during the spring semester of 2020. And his name is Talford Thompson. Anyone in City Hall knows him as TJ. That's what he goes by. But Talford is a third-year law student at University of California, Irvine. He graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in social welfare and is now pursuing a legal career. TJ started working in the office in January and has done very well and brought a lot to this office and consequentially to the city as a whole. Some of the things that TJ has worked on, he has handled small claims matters that have been filed against the city. He has prepared various warrants. I know we were talking about the medical marijuana closings that we've been doing. He's prepared warrants for those and other abatement warrants of some of the issues that you all have brought up, where residents have complained of different nuisances within the city that our code enforcement officers have been able to take and to clear up. He's assisted me in addressing some of the employment issues here internally. He's served as a resource for other departments within the city, doing various research projects for them, and also provides litigation support not only to our lawyers here at the city, but our outside counsel as well. Academically, TJ has been doing great. He received the book award this semester. And for those who may not be familiar, the book award is an award in law school where you get the highest grade in the class. And so TJ received the book award for federal tax and California business tax. And he also received the Dean's Award, which he did want me to say was the second highest grade because he, of course, is an overachiever and wanted the highest grade, but he did receive the Dean's Award for his mergers and acquisitions course. He took a little time during this summer to intern for Reed Smith, which is a national law firm in their San Francisco office. He was in the class of summer interns that they had and received a job offer to come back and work for that firm next year after he graduates from law school. So we're really excited for TJ. He will continue to intern with us for this academic year and continue to do great work. So I just wanted to acknowledge him and his efforts, again, to thank council for adopting this legal intern program. It certainly has paid dividends not only to the city, but provided a great opportunity for the one law student that we've had so far to get exposure to municipal law practice. We're still looking to bring, we have space for another legal intern, and we have put the word out to the various Black Law Students Associations at local law schools for anyone who may be interested. I think TJ was in the queue for this Zoom call. I don't see him listed on here now. If he is in the holding room, you can certainly let him in. If he is not, oh, there he is, I think.
Yes, he's here.
Okay, so I'll let him say anything that he might like to say to the mayor and to the council.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, Mr. Brown, Mr. Cornwell, for having me. Really have had a great time working at the City Hall and the City Attorney's Office over this past year, and a lot of really good, just, it doesn't get any better than getting hands-on experience. I do want to thank Mr. Cornwell and the council members for approving the legal intern position and making those funds available. It does make a difference as a struggling and financially challenged law student. Even the funds I get every month do allow me to cover my rent. So thank you very much. And I do really encourage the city to keep the program going especially if you're able to get young people of color that are looking to get into the field. Oftentimes, for my classmates, specifically my fellow Black classmates, so much of our experience in the law school and starting out in the profession will be path determinative for where we end up. And the more exposure we get to different aspects of law practice and the practical aspects, not just the theoretical sort of underpinnings that we get from all the tuition we're spending, I think the hands-on experience is invaluable and actually more important. So again, thank you all for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and I look forward to working with you throughout the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. It's been wonderful to have you. I'm pleased to hear about your positive experience and obviously the impact that you've been able to make. We hope that what you've learned and what you've been able to glean from the city of Compton will stand with you for the years to come and hopefully motivate some of your philanthropic and reinvestment work as you continue to climb in your career and success. So all the best to you, and we wish you well. And thank Mr. City Attorney and also our city manager for launching this program under his tenure. And it definitely has a tremendous impact. You all know how I feel about young people and providing them with opportunities. So I'm really happy that this program is not only still here, but thriving. So congratulations again to you, TJ. All the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations, TJ. And thank you for coming to the city of Compton. Take your expertise and talk about Compton wherever you go. And remember that this is a profession that gives you an opportunity to pay it forward. So just remember where you come from, how hard you work hard for those that need you, stay true to yourself, and God will. Congratulations and thank you again. And help some people with their taxes.
Thank you, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney, for your report. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are now at unfinished business, item number 8, which is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Compton creating the Department of Community Improvement Services, and we need a motion to waive the reading.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Roll call on the waiver.
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
and on the adoption,
So moved.
I'll step from the chair to second discussion. Mr. City Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. This item is on its second reading. But for background for this item and the remaining items, this is dealing with the COVID-induced deficit that we had going into this fiscal year, approximately $5 million. As we know, to meet that deficit, we had a workforce reduction as well as a realignment of the organization. The ordinances on the agenda this evening reflect what was approved in our budget. And it is to coordinate the budget and the names of the departments along with actually what's on the books. So this particular one, number 8, deals with our parking division, code enforcement division, security, and business license, along with the administrative personnel that support this department. And it's on for approval for the second reading.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Any council discussion or questions on this item?
I did have a question for the city manager. Because he said he got 8, 10, 11, I think, and 12. And this particular position here, is there one of the positions that you've already taken before the personnel board, Mr. City Manager?
So number 8 and the rest of the items aren't regarding a particular job position. It's regarding.
It's just regarding the reorganization piece.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's regarding the department and the department is replacing. So there is no personnel commission.
Okay. So this position here, community improvement services, that is not a position for anyone. They're just a department. So they're just a whole department. Am I right?
It's for a department, correct?
Okay.
Any additional discussion? Roll call.
Councilperson Chambers, Councilperson Chambers,
I'm sorry, yes.
McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Item number 9 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Compton authorizing the city manager to enter into a professional service agreement with and establish a purchase order for Bucknam Infrastructure Group Incorporation to update the pavement management study on all city roads within the city limits in the amount of $67,057.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, we, staff is pleased to present a pavement management study. The last pavement management study was completed in 2017. Between 2 and 3 years is best practice to update the payment management study. We have done significant amount of work on repaving streets, so it's always good to get a current idea of what is our new streets, what percentage are average, what percentage are failing streets, and we need to engage our consultant to update their prior study to help us stay current with the current situation of our infrastructure and how best to address it.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And I know we all appreciate this item coming forward, especially at this time. Any additional council discussion? Roll call?
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Item number 10 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Compton abolishing the Human Resources Department and creating the Department of Internal Services. We need a motion to waive the reading.
So move.
I'll step from the chair to second for the waiver. Roll call?
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
And on first reading,
Is there a motion on the item?
So move.
I'll step from the chair to second. Discussion?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this item, going back to the department creation ordinances, this particular department is the Internal Services Department. These are divisions that provide services to either the employees. We have Human Resources Division, we have our IT division, and we also have added reprographics as well as Channel 36 work. If there's any questions, I'm here to respond. But again, this is creating the department and not dealing with individual positions at this time. I do know that last week there was a concern regarding abolishing, but abolishing can be reestablished in the same manner that we are establishing this department. We can simply do whenever the city plans to go in a different direction, we can reestablish and go forward in that different direction. So nothing permanent as the name may indicate.
Thank you, Mr.
Madam
City.
Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was the one that had the problem with the abolish, and that term still just gets to me, to abolish the department, especially when we still have, I know this doesn't have anything to do with creation of positions, but I know the union, sent a letter saying that they wanted us to wait until we finish negotiations as well. And, again, I see we created the first, number 8 without abolishing anything, so why do we have to abolish the department? I just need to know that.
Well, with item 10, we formerly had a human resources department.
Mm-hmm.
And that department is now a division. With the community improvement department, there was no department in there that was being abolished. Those were a collection of divisions that were coming together to form a department. So this one, we have the former Human Resources Department that is now a Human Resources Division.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I did want to ask the city manager a question because I know these are departments that you're creating here. And I kind of understood. I mean, I'm eight of the nine, I'm sorry, the 10, 11, and 12, especially 12, is that I'm looking at this whole thing, and I was asking, my concern was in regards to whether or not, I know you're creating a department, but I do know there's different positions that's going to be within those departments. Am I correct?
Yes, there will
Yeah.
be positions in a department.
Within that department. So those are the positions that's within that department. I know that you had started negotiation with the unions in regarding those positions. Am I right?
You are correct. Yes, ma'am.
My concern is this, is that if you're in the middle of negotiation with the unions, is that how does that negotiation that you have going on, does by us getting in the middle of this, does this put us in the middle of the negotiations? And I'm just, that's a concern for me, is because we are as a council, we are not a part of the negotiation team. I'm just wondering how does that impact us as far as that particular piece of it.
Well, one, before I have the city attorney take my seat, I don't want, I would not support the characterization that I'm putting council in the middle of something.
Okay.
My position has always been, last week as well as this week, that they're on two different tracks. We have a track to complete the reorganization and continue to try to move the city forward, which is a management right to propose, and then we have the job spec meet and confer obligations that we're trying to do. So I wouldn't characterize it as, nor would I try to put council in the middle of something. I think that is.
Well, that was the best way I could explain what my feelings were, so that you could understand where I'm coming from.
And I'll defer to the city attorney.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring some clarity. The reorganization and the restructuring is being done pursuant to the budget that was passed. And that is exclusively within management's prerogative to do. There is no negotiation or meet and confer requirement that the city has with the unions as it relates to the reorg and the restructuring. What we do have an obligation to do is to meet and confer over the impacts of the layoff, which include the new duties that some of the job specs, the existing job specs may incur as a result of the layoff, or some of the new positions that will be created because of the restructuring that resulted from the layoff. So when Craig talks about two different tracks, what you're voting on tonight is on the track that doesn't involve the union. It is strictly management's prerogative to structure the city in a way that services can continue to be provided. And while that happens, the city is also negotiating the job specs, such as the internal services director job spec. That's one of the job specs that we've been negotiating, where we've presented something to the union. They've offered input as to certain things that they like to see in that job spec, and we've gone back and provided revisions based on their input, and we'll continue to do that until we can come to an agreed upon job spec. But we're not actually negotiating whether there will be an internal services director. That's the city's prerogative to decide. We're simply negotiating what that job spec will look like, what the duties will include, how much the pay will be, and then other job positions that may be altered as a result in terms of the duties as a result of the restructuring. So I just wanted to be clear, council's not being asked to side one way or the other on the issues that are being negotiated. You're strictly establishing the structure that you've already approved in the budget so that the city can continue its work, meeting with the unions to make sure that all of these departments and divisions are appropriately staffed.
Okay, thank you. Another question I would like to ask the city manager is that, did the union file an unfair labor practice with PERB in regarding this information and regarding the reorganization?
No, that actually comes through my office. The unfair labor practice charges that have been filed relate to other issues that concern the layoff procedures.
Okay.
They have not filed an unfair labor practice charge as it results to the reorganization because, again, that's not a subject of bargaining. So they can't, Herb would not have any jurisdiction to hear a matter if they had tried to file something along those lines.
Okay, now the reason I'm asking these questions is because I did read the city manager's letter that he had sent out to them today. And I noticed that, he did kind of refer to a case back in 1982, which was a PERB case, I believe, December. I think it has something to do with, San Jose. And one of the reasons I looked at that, and I also has some other information, I really wanted to just mention it because it seems as though the case that he mentioned back in one case he mentioned was back in 1986, and then another case I think was in 1982. More information. Now, there was a case that was filed back in 2013, once out through 2013. And I'm just going to read from the what came from the courts. And it stated the Court of Appeal decision appears to continue to trend to expand the scope of representation already being seen in PERB. As in Stationary Engineers Local 39 versus the City of Sacramento, that was done in 2013, this case was filed. PERB decision number 2351-M, in which PERB found that the City of Sacramento violated the MMBA by failing to meet and confer before it eliminated the supervisor and dispatcher position in the police department and reassigned the eliminated position's duties to the dispatcher 3 classification. While the decision to reorganize decision to reorganize our layoff employees has historically been a management right, not subject to the meet and greet obligation. PERB and the courts seem increasingly likely to continue their public entities must negotiate regarding a reorganization and not just regarding the effects of the reorganization. Note that these cases are governed by the MMBA and the ERA, but do indicate how PERB and courts are trending. And so that's the reason why I'm asking all these questions, because in case we end up in court with this, I'm just wondering where we would land in regards to the courts and everything is concerned, because this case here was a 2013 case, which we just heard. And so that's why we seem to be moving in a direction where they're saying that the negotiations and everything seem to be saying that they should be, this should be negotiated and or should be at least given that they should have been given notification of it prior to. And so that's what my concern is, and that's I wanted to mention that because in looking at this, it just seems to kind of mitigate the fact of what he has here in the letter because of the cases that the age of the cases that he mentioned, which was 1982 back in 1986. And so it seemed to be we're moving in a different direction. And I just wondered if you guys even considered trying to reach out to one of our attorneys that actually worked for us, was Liebert, Cassie, and Whitmore, because this is what we seem to be going as far as this is concerned.
I'm so confused. I am so confused. City attorney, I've heard the city manager indicate that these are two different tracks. Now there has been a case brought back from the crypt talking about 2013. Can we get to the matter at hand? We're talking about moving forward or not moving forward.
And
we want to move forward. I let you speak.
Don't misunderstand me. Look, I think I have a right to put this information out there and mention this information, whether you guys agree with it or not. And it's up to you whether you agree with it or not. I'm just sharing with you information that I'm looking at and where we seem to be heading. And I'm just trying to make sure where we're going to land, because it is a possibility that we may end up in court. I'm just wondering where we're going to land with all this and what happens if they, win this case. And I think we need to look at that. And I think we need to consider it. And what you want to do after that, it's up to you.
I'm going to defer to the city attorney, the city's actual legal counsel. If there was an impending decision that was applicable to this matter, we would have had a closed session on this item, but I'm going to allow the city attorney to weigh in.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was asking.
so I'll pardon the brief primer on legal precedent, but since that was brought up, there's something that courts issue which are referred to as holdings and something that's referred to as dicta.
Mhm.
And in a court holding, that is what the court is deciding. It's the issue that the court is weighing in on and making a conclusive decision on that issue. And then there's dicta, which is just words on a page that the court will say, I think these are some ideas. It can support the holding, it can go against the holding, it's just information. And what you read, and again, I've not read this case, to be able to determine its applicability to the issue at hand at all. But when a court talks about what may be trending, it's simply referring to matters that are coming before the court. The court is not actually making a decision and weighing in on that issue. So what you read reflects a possibility of there having been cases where that issue was presented, but the court is not saying this is the state of the law, and we are not bound by any decision that is not existing at the time that we make any decisions. So as it states right now, it is strictly within management's prerogative to restructure and reorganize the city. As you stated in part of that stating in that reorganization is strictly a management right. And so that is the status of the law. And so I would not advise council ever to make a decision on what might happen later on down the road, because it would not serve the city well based on the fact that we're not operating on what is at this point. We are only responsible for complying with the law as it states now. So if at some point down the line, the law changes and now reorganization is a subject of bargaining, then the city will comply with that. But my office obviously takes seriously, and I take seriously my role in this process. I certainly would not advise the city council or the city manager to take steps that would place it in legal jeopardy. We have vetted these issues. We have prepared. The city manager has been very diligent in making sure that we're proceeding according to the law and following our rules. And just like any person with 2 cents can file a lawsuit, any union who decides that they want to obstruct the process can file whatever they want to file, but it doesn't mean that the city is moving in a direction that is improper or illegal. And in this particular instance, the city is within its right, its legal right to take the action that's being proposed tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney.
Mr. City Attorney, if I may. So again, this is about the reorganization of the departments, not the actual positions. And I understand that one is independent of the other, but they both can coexist.
Correct, and they're happening right now. We are still negotiating the job specs. The union is aware that that is. I mean, if there were, I don't want to speak for the unions, but if there was an issue, anytime someone objects to the premise of something, they're not going to sit down at a table to negotiate it with you. We have been actively negotiating the job specs with the union, taking into account their opinions and their insight.
Okay.
We'll come to a resolution on those separately. But again, this is a separate issue, not requiring any union input or involvement. There's no reason, no legal basis to delay a vote on establishing these departments. And there's actual, in my legal opinion, there is actual harm to the city were it to delay the establishment of these departments, because it will impair and prohibit the city from functioning as it needs.
Everyday operations.
Thank
Well,
you, City Attorney.
they did file, Madam Mayor, they did file a lawsuit and they still at the table negotiating with you guys because the lawsuit was filed, so but they are still at the at the table trying to negotiate in regards to those positions, from what my understanding is. Am I right?
The unfair labor practice is filed concerning the layoff procedures and the way in which the layoff was carried out. It is not contesting the reorganization, and it is not contesting any action that is being taken tonight to establish the departments. That is a completely different issue that's being handled by legal counsel, and it does not create a barrier to the city moving forward.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Mr. City Attorney, I'm like I said, I know, and I support us creating the divisions we voted for. My issue is, again, why do we have to abolish the other departments? Can we just move forward? They're not going to be funded, so why is it so final? Why are we abolishing those departments?
Well, the reason why we need to abolish the departments is because we're creating divisions within other departments. And so we would not have a human resources department and a human resources division. Similarly, we would not have any other department, for example, general services. We would not have any employees that are in that department when those functions have now been placed within street maintenance and public works. And so in order to make sure that we are appropriately organized, abolishing the department is necessary in order to create the division under the same name. And again, if our structure ever changes in the future, there's really no finality to it. It can be reestablished with the same stroke of a pen that it would be abolished by a vote of council.
Any additional discussion? My last question, well, if I could, and this will be my last question on this comment, what would be the purpose of, Councilwoman McCoy, I understand you have an issue with abolishing the departments, but what is the purpose of maintaining an empty department? I'm trying to understand.
I know that.
I'm just trying to understand, yes, I'm just trying to understand your concern.
Okay, so I know that right now, as we've been talking about, I know that some of the unions are still having an issue with like the way that the layoffs went, and there's some layoffs they say they were not noticed and all of that. So my issue with that is, if by chance we go any further and we find that they were, that they, I won't say win, but like just say that they, we find that maybe they have to be reinstated or something. Or if we decide to bring back some employees, how do we bring them back to a department that doesn't exist? That's my problem. So does that make sense to you, Mayor?
I understand your concern, but the kind of logic behind it, according to the city attorney, we have to make decisions based on real-time information. So I can't act today on what could or might happen down the line.
Could happen. Mm-hmm.
And I can also share, Councilperson McCoy, even when all of this resolves, assuming that this charge that was filed with PERB goes forward, and PERB, there's the hearing and all of that, PERB doesn't have the jurisdiction or the authority to order the city to reestablish anything. I mean, that even they could not even order the city to, if the city, whatever remedies are available to the employees based on the charge would be provided based on what PERB has the authority to award, and they don't have the jurisdiction to restructure cities based on their awards. So a reinstatement of an employee wouldn't be an issue here if, let's say, for example, it was to a department that no longer existed, that we would not be forced to reestablish that department in order to take that employee back. They just don't have the jurisdiction to do that.
Okay, but what would happen to the employee? You would put them in a similar position? Is that what would happen?
Well, I don't know what would happen to the employee because it's sort of speculative at this point, but we don't have to sort of, I understand your position. We don't have to sort of leave things open pending the resolution of that matter, just in case
Okay.
the judge orders something. The city can move forward with its restructuring, and PERB's jurisdiction is limited to the issues that it can adjudicate and the remedies that it can
I
provide.
understand now.
So, which means when you abolish the positions, we still don't have a clear understanding as to what these people that's laid out, that's still out here, that's got laid off, as to if you decide to bring them back, how you would do that. There's no way you can explain that to the council or give us any idea at all.
Well, we maintain that we didn't do anything wrong, so I have no reason to believe that we'll be bringing anyone back from the layoff.
Oh, okay. So, okay, that's okay. I'm just trying to make sure I understand something. So the people that you guys laid off, because I was under the impression, and the reason I'm stating this is because I was under the impression that some of the people were going to be brought back. So basically, what you're saying now is that you didn't do anything wrong, so it's possible none of these people will be brought back. That's okay. So that's what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
If I can weigh back in. So there's two different. So there's bringing them back as a legal proposition, or a legal decision, and then there's if the economy improves.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That was my concern right there.
Right there.
Back, we bring laid off employees back in the budget. I mean, that's the mechanism to bring them back. So maybe this will provide some additional light. This ordinance is not deleting any position. The positions were defunded in the budget. We are operating the city at $5 million less than last year. That happened in the budget. The people that aren't here are not in the budget.
I understand that.
So that's what happened to those employees. When you talk about abolishing or it went out of the budget.
Due to the global pandemic.
To bring a position back, we would have to address the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And have a budget amendment.
Then you have to do a budget amendment in order to bring them back.
Correct.
I think this is what we're looking at for you to explain exactly what happened here, because you said we didn't do anything wrong, so the people just laid off. And the next breath, you're saying that if the economy improved, that you would be able to bring some of the people back. So I can't. Which one is it?
But it's not either or. That's what I'm trying to explain. One answer came from the city attorney, who's talking about the legal matters that you brought up from the PERB charges. As the city manager, I'm telling you, economically, I deal with the budget. If I can bring someone back that we can afford, I'm going to bring it back, but I have to do that through a budget amendment.
Okay, thank you. That's the process. Thank you.
Any additional questions or discussion?
Oh, and the last thing, with ASME management, for mayor and council, we're about 75%, 80% approved. I mean, we have the minds on a high majority of job specs. So that process is going along and progressing.
Okay, then I need to ask you one question. Then is that because you said it's progressing, you guys moving along, and that's what another question that I wanted to ask is that if that is the case, and why we're pushing this and rushing this if you're almost finished with that, and what is the purpose in us pushing this through? I'm just trying to make sure I understand. Understand that.
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. One, I'm not going to characterize this as rushing or pushing something through. Again, that's not the words I'm using. I think Since I started in this management position, my pace has been different than others. We fix more streets than have ever been fixed. I'm doing things quicker than other
Absolutely.
people are comfortable with. And I am not interested, if it's up to me, to slow down for someone else's comfort level in an area that they don't have jurisdiction in. So the honest answer is we can slow down. And we can wait for everyone to be comfortable. But I haven't operated in that manner in other areas, and I don't plan to not bring something forward simply because folks aren't comfortable. Because when I took the seat, there was a lot of comfort and things weren't progressing.
Too much comfort. Too
So
much.
I'm trying to have areas progress, and my time frame is very different than the employee's time frame. I'm I'm in my I mean time's running out for me. I can't be talking about organizing a department for the next few months. I got to go on to the next thing. I'm trying to accomplish all I can. You guys gave me a short window.
Mr. City Manager, first, let me say this. I'm not telling you to slow down. The only thing I'm looking at, I'm gonna be straight with you, has been the policies and procedures and what was done. That's it for me. It has nothing, if you can get it done tomorrow, fine. I'm just concerned about the policies and procedures and whether or not everything was done in the manner it should be done. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. I'm not saying that I've never said that you do not have a right to reorganize. That is your right. But I am looking at the policies and the procedures and everything. That is what I'm concerned about.
But your comment started off with, why am I rushing? And that's
the reason I said that, let me explain to you why I said that is because when we first did the budget, and there was questions that was asked at that time, and then I asked at the last city council meeting about that as well, because of the fact that I did ask about the process. And if I feel as though the process now seemed to be different than what I felt that was told to me, I'm going to start asking a lot of questions about it. And it doesn't mean that you have to, like I said, you can do whatever you want. But the thing of it is that I'm saying this is that as far as when it comes down to the policy and the procedures, that's when I am going to start asking questions, Mr. City Manager, and that's me. That's how I am. Just like that you are. You said that you want to get things done, and I want to see you get things done. But at the same time, I am looking at the policies and the procedures and how it's being done. That's it.
I'm just flabbergasted. I'm looking at two attorneys in the Zoom window. One is the city manager, one is the city attorney. If there are any issues with policy procedures, I would expect for either one of them to raise them to our attention. And so I just have to call it what it is. If there are people in the realm of government, be it disgruntled former employees or current employees, if it's the union, if it's anyone other that's not chiefly concerned with moving the business forward, then we need to really check the source of that quote unquote information, and also the motives, because this has been going on for a long time. And I've already committed to each and every one of you that I will not stay quiet when we have to delay, bring things back, explain things over and over and over and over again, when these are just basic procedural actions that we have already approved. It's unacceptable to me. So we have a chief problem. Either there's a challenge understanding the information that is brought before us, or there's too many people behind the scenes text messaging people of what to say or sending information or case laws. I mean, that's just what it is. So we need to make a decision based on the information at hand, current, accurate information, timely information, and move forward. But all these delays, because that's exactly what they are, they're delays in bringing confusion into when it's time to act. And that's counter Compton. And I will not stand by for that at all. And it infuriates me because the residents lose every time. I hope we're here to make a decision tonight, because why I came here, to make a decision.
Madam Mayor,
Any additional discussion?
like I said, is that I believe that the information should be put out there so people can look at it, and I'm going to do that. And if whatever decision is this council make, the council make it. The only thing is, I do believe that once the information is given out and they can give you an answer to it, it does look better than us not asking at all. Now, that's me.
Better to
Now,
whom? I don't know who we're trying to please here. The residents expect us to move forward.
And they also expect for us to also ask questions and to make sure that what we're doing is moving in the right direction.
And I ask questions and I get briefed and I read my agenda.
I'm not trying to.
I do my research.
I'm not telling anybody not to do anything. The only thing I'm saying, I'm asking questions. So therefore, when the community will understand exactly why we're moving in the direction that we're doing, and I think that that's appropriate for them to understand that.
Any additional discussion? Roll call.
Did you call for the question, Madam Mayor?
No, we're ready for roll call, Madam City Clerk. Thank you.
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
McCoy,
No.
Sharif,
No.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. And to the residents that are watching, this is a clear depiction of the lack of a decision to move forward on critical items that impact our quality of life. This council already approved the budget. We've already approved the reorganization. And because a few people, the unions, want to control how the city operates, we have two people sitting on this dais, Councilwoman Sharif and Councilwoman McCoy, who are deciding that they're going to eliminate and negate the opinion of the city attorney and the city manager on what's best to move the city of Compton forward. So this is just a prime example of that, and I will continue to illuminate these issues when they transpire. Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, I am not negating anything. I said what I had an issue with. I'm not challenged in reading. I understand very well. And as you do, I read everything on my agenda. But if I have an issue with something, I'm not going to go along just to get along. I'm going, and it has nothing to do with the unions. Nobody from the union has even reached out to me. So it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what I feel and how I feel about it. And I have to vote the way I feel.
And next, Madam City Clerk.
Our next two resolutions are abolishing and we're moving forward. Okay. Item number 11 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Compton abolishing the General Services Department and creating the Department of Public Works, Street Maintenance, and this is to waive the reading.
So moved.
I'll step from the chair to second. Discussion. Mr. City Manager, I don't know if you'd like to explain this item or move forward.
Yes,
This is on the waiver. I'm sorry, this is just on the waiver.
Oh, excuse me. Roll call on the waiver.
Yes.
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
McCoy,
Yes.
Sharif,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
And on the first reading?
Is there a motion on the item?
So moved.
I'll step from the chair to second. Discussion.
yes, Mayor and Council, this is establishing another department. This is our Public Works Street Maintenance Department. It's headed by our street superintendent. The reason for the abolishing language is we formerly had a general services department. Now it's a general services division. and it has been added to the Public Works Maintenance Department.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
can I ask the city manager to pull the next ones until I can discuss something else with him further? That will keep us from going through all of this. But it's up to the pleasure of the council. If you want to go forward, it's okay.
Mr. City Manager, it's up to you. I don't want to waste your time if people are not prepared to take action.
I'll pull 11 and 12.
Thank you.
We can go to council comments.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Chambers?
Thank you. Just a reminder that there's COVID-19 testing at Gonzalez Park, Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. For an appointment, please call 1-888-634-1123. Mr. City Manager, I have some concerns that Wilmington is still isn't finished. Excuse me, El Segundo in between Wilmington and Willowbrook on the south side of the street, where it looks like every apartment on that road cleaned out and dumped on our streets. It's getting worse. It's spilling out into the street now. And we can get that addressed tomorrow. I greatly appreciate it. It looks really bad. And it's everything from mattresses to clothes to dressers to, like I said, it looks like someone moved out and just left all of their belongings there. Also, the railroad. Do we have an update with the railroad yet? On our conversations with the railroad?
I'll bring back a report. I know we have a date upcoming for Willowbrook.
Okay. That's
Alameda.
Oh, Alameda. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll bring a more comprehensive report next week.
Please.
Yes, we are trying to get through that hurdle.
Okay. And also on El Segundo, Wilmington, if we can just get a report back from Metro or all, I think there's like 3 or 4 who own our bus stops. We really need an overhaul looking at our bus stops. The bus stops at El Segundo and Wilmington are just all broken and cracked in half. One thing you see is our census sign, and that's hanging on by a thread. So we can at that address, we can reach out to them and ask them to tend to our bus stops, please. I'd greatly appreciate it. Because if you go further east, they don't look like that. So I appreciate we get that straightened out. Also, tree trimming. I have some tree trimming requests that I'll be sending you. I thought I wrote down the address, but I have it on my email, so I'll send it to you. Also, trees in the wires. Is there anything established with who is to cut the tree? Edison said it's not their problem. City said it's not their problem. Who establishes whose problem it is? I don't want the tree to catch on fire and to become the fire department's problem.
I'm not sure who from Edison said it's not their.
Well, what I'm asking, is there a certain criteria that dictates who cuts the tree? Does it have to be up into the wires for it to be established out California Edison's responsibility? I just need some clarity on how do we decide who cuts the tree? Because again, it is hot. We have Indian summer coming up, and it gets hot in October, and so we want to look at that. If we can, I'm in October. I'm sorry. If we can look at that, the tree issue, just so I know for clarity and for the resident who's responsible to cut the tree. Also, we got abandoned cars again. It's coming in District 1. Actually, I seen them just throughout the city. People look like they're just dumping them, and they just grow moss and everything else all over them. You can tell no license plates or anything. And we can have code enforcement look at that. Donuts on Paulson. We have a big issue with donuts. If we can we get a 4-way stop sign there? It's really bad to where a kid almost got hit the other day. And the intersection is they're just spinning out, and it's really scary. I don't know if that'll help, but hopefully it will, and I get you the correct address. And lastly, I just want to what's this, September 30th is the deadline for the census?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just want to remind everyone to please complete your census. Again, we really need to be counted. We need our fair share of funding allocated to us. So please complete your census. Also, I'd like to thank Compton Advocates for their census canvas again, getting out to the community, talking about and educating the residents on the importance of completing the census. It's very vital, very important. Also, thank you to Pastor Smart, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Sandy Cook, Arnetta Back, Redesign Church family, who also did a church census caravan. District 1. So again, thank you very, very much for raising awareness and showing the importance of completing our census. And, you know, being well, been here a year, but being in a position of leadership and being in a position of elected official of anybody is a position that sometimes you have to make critical decisions for the betterment of the institution that may seem uncomfortable. Again, we're in a global pandemic. I don't want anyone laid off, and pray that our economy increases or we can bring employees back. But we have to remember why we're here, and that's because the residents elected us to make these critical decisions on their behalf. Not just on behalf of a few, not just on behalf of many, but on behalf of all. So just remember, as we take our seats every Tuesday, to just come prepared and ready. If you don't understand that, Mr. Manager, I'm sure you always make yourself available to my colleagues to help them understand anything. If they have any questions, please don't leave the room without answering them for them, because we don't want to keep getting to this point of every Tuesday when we need to move policy and handle the cities and the residents' business, that we come to this impasse of misunderstanding. So if we can just make sure that we're all clear. And again, we're in these positions. There's going to be some decisions that are going to be uncomfortable to make, but we were elected to make them. I would like to adjourn in memory of Ms. Barbara Bilberry. Ms. Barbara Bilberry was a resident. I apologize. Should have had it up. She was a resident of Compton since 1966. Passed away from District 1. So keep her family in our prayers. She lived on Tishner. Also, would like to adjourn in memory of a good dear friend of mine, one I was blessed to be, to stand on her shoulders, and that is the Honorable Assemblywoman, former Assemblywoman Gwen Moore, who passed away. So if we know Miss Assemblywoman Moore was in the state legislature from 1978 and served 16 years to 1994, representing California's 49th district, which included at that time Long Beach County, the island parts of the lake, in Orange County. She was big and influential within minority-owned businesses, helping small businesses obtain state contracts, and vice president of California Conference at the NAACP, just a well-rounded community servant and a true leader. She will surely be missed. She has put policies in place for over 400. She has over 400 bills that were signed into law. So she tells you how impactful Assembly Honorable Gwen Moore was. So if we want to keep the Moore family in prayer. Pray for my godmom Diane Watson, who's a very good friend, and also pray for the family. Thank you. Have a good evening. It is my pleasure to serve you. Good night.
Thank you, Councilwoman Chambers. Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I have a couple of trees that need to be trimmed, Mr. City Manager, on Oleander and on Alondra, and I will email you the addresses as soon as the meeting is over. And I have some potholes on Albertsons that need to be repaired. I'm sorry, I'm reading and leaning to the side. Also, I'll email you the potholes. It's also on 156, but I will send you all of the information. I do want the status of the street light repair on Central and Alondra. It was knocked down, maybe it's been a year now. And that left-hand turn signal, if you're in if you don't know that that signal is down, you're just sitting there because it's so low you don't even see it. So I just want the status of that signal repair. And also, again, the easement on Wilmington between Greenleaf and, I'm sorry, yes, the easement on Wilmington between Greenleaf and Alondra. I'm asking for that to be cleaned. And Edison did clean the lot right there on Central and Greenleaf, but I guess outside of the fence, I don't know if that's to be maintained by the city, but it was not done. And so we need to, I don't know if they're to maintain the area, the grass area outside, but the actual lot was clean. So if it's our responsibility, can we please have it done? And if not, then please contact them and ask them to. Michael Harvey, he returned home from the hospital this week, and his family is still asking for prayers, saying that he has a long way to go. So I'm telling him, get well soon and let him know that he's in our prayers. And that is my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sharif?
I have an upcoming grab and go giveaway that's coming up on the September 18th, and we'll be back at Mount Pilgrim. And I want to thank the Compton Chamber of Commerce and Drew Child Care Development. And lastly, the 4th District Youth Leadership Council for helping and making sure these grab and go food giveaways are being successful. And so I'm looking forward to all of you coming out and joining us. And on Saturday, September the 26th, my office will be collaborating with the Distinguished Men Target Corporation, Bishop Withers Unity Church, HBCU Hub, and United Children's Foundation for Progress for a city cleanup. The city event flyer and registration information should be up on the city website by today. If you are interested in participating, please come out and support our efforts. We're looking for people to come, for the community to come out and really be a part of this. And the temporary assistance for needy families, it provides families in need with financial assistance in order to purchase the daily essentials they require. For more information about this program, please go to familyandnutrition.com. That's familyandnutrition.com. The senior meal program is that program that started back in April under Governor Gavin Newsom in partnership with FEMA and the County of Los Angeles. They are still taking applications, and they are still called Great Place Delivered. If anyone needs to get information or would like to have them delivering food to any senior, please get in contact. You can go to covid.19.gov, covid.19.gov, Great Place Delivered, and fill out a Great Place Delivered interest form, and they will get back in contact with you and put you on the list. And Mr. City Manager, the people at Pearl, they're excited knowing that that street is up and is to be repaired shortly, and they are very excited about that. And they want to say thank you. They thanked me before it happened, so they want to just say thanks to you and the staff for actually pushing this through and everything and making this happen. Thank you. And but I am getting some calls from some of the community people and regarding the funding for the elections, because there's so much going out. They just wanted to find out if you could just tell them, or if you could clarify tonight while I'm asking about the funding and everything for the election. I know that the funding is supposed to be in a budget somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly what budget it is in. So if you could share that information with them so that they will possibly stop calling, stop just calling me regarding it, so that I have information for themselves, so they'll know exactly what is happening with that. And because they are asking me regarding it, and they definitely deserve to know.
Madam Mayor and Council, there's 200 and I believe $265,000 in the city clerk's budget in the elections fund. I'm working with the clerk and of course, the county to, to estimate the cost of the upcoming election and to come up with, options for funding. Um, and the second I do that, I will bring that to council,
Options for
for
You
fund.
said, you said options for funding?
Yes.
Then I have a question, Mr. City Manager.
If I
Is
could,
that,
if I could just finish
okay, go on, finish.
that 265,000 is, budgeted, for the election and it is in the city clerk's, department fund.
Okay. So right now we have 265, but we have no idea how much more you need for that election. Is that, I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. With an election coming up in April, is there any particular reason why that election wasn't budgeted for?
In a budget that laid off 28 employees, we didn't take more for the election to lay off even more employees.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we laid off 28, so you didn't want to take any more money.
I didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
All the employees here that we can afford.
But the election is something that we have to do every 4 years.
Right, but the pandemic is not a regular occurrence. So we were thrown a $5 million deficit, curve. And we addressed that. We're already underserved. We had to reduce even more, and we didn't reduce further.
And surely didn't see us paying for our own election coming. We were thinking we were going to have shared costs. If it goes over that 265, then what?
If the estimate is over the 265, I have to come up with options to address that.
Mm-hmm. First, let me say I really appreciate you sharing that information because I was concerned as to, my concern was that as to why it wasn't budgeted for, knowing that that's our election that's in our, that we had to, it's in our charter and we have to do it. That's the reason why I was asking about it. That's why the people in the community was asking me as well. So,
But
thank
people
you
in
for
the community should know it was budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
It was budgeted. It's budgeted to 265.
That's why I said, would you guys budget for 265? Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
can I feel like I'm sitting here and everybody's talking like I'm not in the room, but every 2 years there's an election, and every 2 years the clerk's office is responsible for submitting a budget for elections. So I don't know where the misnomer is that we didn't budget. We did budget. In fact, it's 280,000 in our budget.
280.
We never know the cost. It's always an estimate, and the city manager is correct. If we go over that or go under that, the city will ultimately have to pay the cost. But every 2 years there's an election. Every 2 years there's a budget for the election. So I'm not sure why the citizens or the community is just now saying that there's never. It's always been an election budget set separately from the city clerk's operating budget. It's not commingled together. It's an election budget and then there's a city clerk's budget. So there's always been a budget every 2 years.
Okay, thank you. So listen, okay. All right, thank you, Madam City Clerk.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Brown. I think that was it for my notes.
Thank you, Councilman Sharif. Mr. City Manager, I know that you are preparing item for council consideration regarding the upcoming election. and I'm not sure, and I understand that the county will have to estimate what the city's election costs are. I had a pretty detailed briefing by Madam City Clerk last week about this matter. That being said, if we are to perhaps estimate based on the last district only elections, which were for districts 1 and district 4, the total costs of both the general and, excuse me, the primary and the general were approximately $800,000. Now, obviously, that was for two budgets, for two districts. This will be a citywide election totaling 4 districts, double the coverage, double the, possibly quite double the postage and all the other costs, polling locations, what have you. Is there a timeline of when you can just provide us an estimate, maybe based on the last election cost? I do understand that the cost ultimately may be more once, or possibly the same or a little less. There's other variables in speaking with the city clerk, but we should be able to look at what the impacts will be sooner rather than later. I'd rather not wait to the last minute if we're talking about people and jobs and services to residents.
Um, yes, yes, I will bring it as soon as possible. I did want some basis for um, to alert council that we're underfunded or and where we can get those funds from. Um, but I will bring it to you to council as soon as possible.
Thank you for that. I will go over my council comments, beginning with the latest in COVID-19 statistics. Currently, there are 249,241 confirmed COVID-19 cases in the county of Los Angeles and 6,036 deaths. In Compton, we currently have 3,796 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 61 fatalities related to coronavirus. Also, I'd just like to encourage all of our residents to please take advantage of the permanent COVID-19 testing site at Gonzalez Park. The city was notified by the state of California, which is one of the sponsors and operators of the testing facility, that very few people, very few Compton residents are taking advantage of the service. And we want to ensure that as this resource is made available specifically for our community, for our population, that we really take advantage of this free testing facility in our community. And so again, those times are Sunday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. They recommend that you make an appointment, but because of the low volume, they are accepting walk-ups at this time. So people are able to walk up. And if you need additional information, you can visit the City of Compton's website, comptoncity.org/covid.asb.
Madam Mayor, excuse me real quick. Can we include that to the churches as well, like the census information, and get that out? And maybe we can do some flyers and put out in the senior centers, senior high rises, and the grocery stores, Starbucks, just get it out as much as we can. And again, I'll be willing to help disseminate that as well.
Absolutely.
We need to get the word out that that's available.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilwoman Chambers. We can work on those items this week. On Saturday, the Rose Street Block Club held a community cleanup in District 2. I'd like to thank Ms. Nadine White and her team on taking up this wonderful task. They have been cleaning up this area for many years. I know our city manager has gone on occasion, as have I, but they're very active and really a model block club. And they were able to partner with Pentecostals of Compton, which is a neighboring church, to combine efforts and take care of that community and neighborhood. So a big thank you to the Rose Street Block Club and also Pentecostals of Compton for their efforts. And also their prayers. They are adamant prayer warriors for the city of Compton. On Saturday, the Compton Advocates and Vecinos Unidos held a caravan to bring awareness of the importance of the Census 2020. And I'd like to also give a special thank you to the Vaqueros of Compton. They came out very strong. There were over 25 rancheros out with us in the caravan. We had a beautiful time. The children were excited to see people out, and people learned about why the census is really important. And so I'd like to thank Candice Leos and also Vecinos Unidos, who was led by Yolanda Gomez for their great efforts. And also Compton for Youth was there, as well as the Compton NAACP and many other organizations were on deck for this wonderful outreach. As of today, as we heard earlier, our census count is at 62.4%. We have less than 30 days to target 100. This is so critical because it literally takes less than 10 minutes of your time and you can secure thousands, actually millions of dollars in critical vital funding for the city of Compton that will shape our community for the next decade. The census is only counted every 10 years, and so this is our opportunity to ensure that our community is counted. And I'd like to just provide a couple of additional announcements before we close. Tomorrow, the Compton Performing Arts Academy will be beginning their school year. If you're interested in enrolling your child to this phenomenal and progressive academy, you can email info@comptonperformingartsacademy.org. I'd like to thank Fred Martin for just giving so much love, time, and just exposure to our young people. He is truly about empowering youth, and this is a phenomenal platform, also sponsored by Cisco Systems, to ensure that our young people are able to learn in a very progressive environment. Also, I want to remind everyone to just register to vote. If you have not done so already, the last day to register for the November election is October 19th. You can check your status at lavote.net. Also, on Saturday, September 12th at 1:00 p.m., St. Timothy Church will be holding a phone memorial for Kyron Campanos, or Miss K. We will miss her always. Just a phenomenal, just advocate, just a warrior for Compton, for the truth, for progress. Love her dearly, and we will miss her. And you can, if you are interested in attending, you can call in. The call-in number is 315-888-7330. And once more, that's 315-888-7330. And I'd like to just to encourage the residents of Compton to just keep your leadership in your prayers. There's a scripture that I think of often, and it's Amos 3:3, and it says, "How can two walk together unless they be agreed?" And it is truly impossible to move forward doing anything with anyone if you all don't agree, if we don't all agree on the direction in which we're taking. And so it's critical that when people take the time to prepare items for council consideration, that we do our ultimate best in reading the information, understanding the information, asking questions, staying objective and neutral so that we can uphold the best interests of the residents of Compton whom elect us. In every single arena, there are special interests. Sometimes they're unions, sometimes they're different organizations. There's always special interest in everything. However, we are held accountable by the residents of Compton. And for too long, decisions have come before this body and no action. Tonight is no different, no action. In a time where we are dealing with multiple pandemics, a global pandemic, obviously with COVID-19, we are dealing with, as a nation, white supremacy and racism and injustice for communities, people of color. We are dealing with, and I call it an additional pandemic, where we have representatives that sometimes look just like us and oftentimes don't act in our behalf. And so it's critical that we don't consider what people say, but look at the fruit that they bear. Are they truly about progress? Are they truly about moving the city of Compton forward? Do they respect the time and the energy that comes to actually bringing items forward for this body to take action? Those are the things that we should be focused upon, especially when we're making decisions about whom will represent us in the future. On today, it's an unfortunate occurrence that we have delayed moving the city forward once again. But I am hopeful that there is a new generation rising up, and I see it with our young, powerful women that are in the trenches, reaching people, waking people up. But it's time for Compton has to stand up. If we want to move forward, we have to push the level of leadership to a new level. There's a law in leadership by John Maxwell, who is a renowned leadership expert, and he calls it the law of the lid. And it's a premise that you only can go as high as your leadership. So as long as our leadership is content with staying the same, maintaining the status quo, not making decisions, making delays, kicking the can down the road or kicking the can to the next week, the city will stay stagnant. We are literally missing key opportunities to move our city forward. In my opinion, it's almost criminal. I just can't even believe that a community of color would be operating in this way. But again, I'm hopeful to the next generation. Young people rise up, take your city back. And it's just time. And I will not stay quiet. I've already committed that when these instances come up, I will sound the alarm and I will continue to recap and ensure that when opportunities come forward, we're preparing for a large infrastructure package. I pray that everyone is ready to read, comprehend, and take action. So again, it's an honor to serve as your mayor, as God would allow. I pray that you all stay blessed, and we will see you all next week and hopefully be prepared to seize the opportunity to move the great city of Compton forward because our great residents deserve it. God bless you all. And we will close in memory of Mr. Bruce Williamson, who was the leader of the Temptation, also a Compton native, passed away on last week. Also, as was said earlier by my colleagues, Ms. Barbara Bilberry, also former Assembly Member Gwen Moore. We will now adjourn in their memory. Maybe have a motion to adjourn.
Did you say Ms. K?
Yes, I already mentioned Ms. K. We closed in her memory last week.
Oh.
Yes. Maybe have a motion.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilperson Chambers. Councilperson Chambers.
Your mic isn't on, Alita, but yes.
My mic is on. McCoy.
We can't hear you, Madam Clerk.
We can't hear you.
I'm in the mic.
You're
Can
muted.
you hear me? Can you hear me now?
You're muted.
I'm always muted.
Oh, her mute doesn't work.
Just wave your hand.
Everybody not?
She wants us to raise our hand. Yes. I'll do roll call for her.
Okay.
Councilwoman Chambers, Councilwoman McCoy, Councilwoman Sharif, myself, Mayor Brown. Aye. So we will now adjourn, and we have one additional meeting. We will now, if we could have a motion to open the governing body of the successor meeting on this Tuesday, September 8th at 7:52 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, we'll do Councilwoman Chambers,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sharif,
Yes.
and myself, Mayor Brown, yes.
Board members.
Directors. Can you hear me now? They say they can't hear me.
Still not working. She's waving.
Now, can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Oh.
Okay, let me bring, here we are.
Can you hear me now? No?
All right, do we have any public comments, Madam City Clerk? No public comments? All right, we'll need to tap her in. Maybe, Mr. City Manager, could you tap in as a city clerk and just read the items? Because we'll be asking you to explain anyway. Thank you.
Our first item is approval of minutes for July 28th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilperson Chambers,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Sharif,
Yes.
and Mayor Brown.
Yes.
Mayor Brown. The next Item number 2 is a resolution of the Board of Directors of the successor agency to the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Compton, authorizing the executive director to enter into a second amendment to the services contract with and establish a purchase order with New West Landscaping to provide compensation for services rendered during fiscal year 2020
So
for
moved.
$45,000.
Second.
Discussion?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Chair and board members, this item provides landscaping and maintenance services to our successor agency properties. The current contract has been exhausted with funds, and this is to provide a second amendment in the amount of $45,000. Successor agency, the pocket parts.
Mhm.
This is for New West Landscaping.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
You ready to vote?
Roll call?
Board Member Chambers,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Sharif, there you are,
Yes. What happened?
Chair Brown.
Yes.
Next, we have item number 3, the resolution of the Board of Directors of the successor agency to the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Compton, authorizing the executive director to enter into an amendment to the professional services agreement with and establish a purchase order for Roth and Associates for successor agency-owned property appraisal services rendered during fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $30,000.
Is there a motion on the item?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Second.
Yes, Chair and board members, as we have discussed before, in our efforts to sell successor agency property, the Health and Safety Code requires that we have a appraisal within 6 months of the transaction. So before you is an amendment to our appraisal company to extend services in the amount of $30,000. I think this is a good indication that we are in discussions with properties, and we are to the point where we need our appraisal to have additional funds to keep.
And this is no fiscal impact to the director fund, correct?
And,
No. This isn't
a general, no.
okay. That's what I thought.
Any discussion or questions? Roll call?
Aaliyah's
Welcome back, Madam Clerk.
Hi, Alita.
Am I back? Am I back? Can you hear me?
Oh no.
No.
I
Your
can
mute was off, but nope.
Board Member Chambers,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Sharif,
Yes.
and Chairperson Brown.
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution of the Board of Directors of the successor agency to the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Compton, authorizing the executive director to enter into an exclusive negotiation agreement, ENA, with Oliver Alvarez to work out the terms and conditions of a purchase and sale agreement for the disposition and development of successor agency-owned property located at 1501 South Alameda Street.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes,
Madam Mayor.
Oh, if we could have the city manager explain the item first, and then you could be the first question comment.
Chair and Board, Oliver Alvarez is the owner of Majestic Auto Glass located at 1511 South Alameda Street. And they sent in a proposal to extend their operations to the property next door to them. That's 1501 South Alameda. It's been vacant for several years. And the appraisal amount was $665,000. Mr. Alvarez bid was $685,000. They are competing with a second bid for a mixed use development. First floor retail, second floor office and light business. Fifth and sixth floor residential. I'm sorry, third and fourth floor businesses, office space, fifth and sixth floor residential. If you are familiar with this property, there is one driveway that separates the abandoned building with Majestic Auto, and it's staff's opinion that expanding the existing business is the most efficient use for that parcel, in as opposed to trying to have various zoning issues. It actually looks like one parcel at one point. Sure. So we would like to enter into negotiations with Majestic Auto Glass, and that is the issue before you. And I'll take Board Member Sharif's question.
I wasn't a question, it was more of a statement, Mr. City Manager, because that property's been vacant there for such a long time. And I was always wondered why he never tried to actually get that property before now, because like I said, that driveway, they actually share a driveway, so it's very difficult for anyone else to, if they took over that piece of property, for them to be able to probably create a much bigger problem there with that new business and him being there as well, because they share the same driveway, and it was very difficult. And even when they was taking a look at using that property as hopefully we took a look at it to see whether we could use it as a shelter. And that's one reason why we backed off, because it was just very difficult. And I'm hoping that he's successful there with it, because I think it really would add to his property, because actually him doing that, I thought was really made a lot of would actually bring a lot of something different there on that corner and everything. So I'm happy about him reaching out and putting his proposal in, and hopefully he'll be able to get the property.
And he has been committed to removing the blight, having consistent architecture, and really beautifying that corner. So I'm looking forward to the negotiation and actually pulling this off for the community.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and to all the staff working to prepare these items for action. It's always great when existing business can have an opportunity to expand. So I'm really happy for Majestic Auto for your recommendation. Roll call?
Direct, can you hear me now?
Board Member Chambers,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Sharif,
Yes.
Chairperson Brown.
Yeah.
We are at director's comments now.
Thank you. Are there any directors that have comments?
I have a comment. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for doubling as our city clerk this week. Greatly appreciate it. Just fill in when you get it, huh?
I'll have an announcement shortly.
Please.
No director comments?
I have none.
Okay, thank you all. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Board Member Chambers,
Yes.
Board Member McCoy,
Yes.
Board Member Sharif,
Yes.
Chairperson Brown.
Yes. Thank you all.
Good night.